Michael Biggs here, supervisor for medical security again. Once again, this is in the DT series, defensive tactics series, control and restraint holds. This next hold that we're going to talk about is called a transfer lock. This is the next escalation up in the use of force that you're going to use with somebody that you're taking out of a club. Okay? We already talked about previously the minimum level, which is the minimum escort hold, or minimum custody hold. Sometimes we call it minimum custody, sometimes we call it minimum escort because you're escorting the person out. This is called a transfer lock. Now, can you just proceed for a second? We call it transfer lock. Some of the people may call it a bent elbow lock, a Z lock, wrist lock. They all have different names. We call it transfer lock that way. If I say put him in a transfer lock or put a transfer lock on him, everybody knows what we're talking about. But basically, if you look at it, the basic construction of it, you can see why they call it a Z lock, okay, or a bent elbow or a bent wrist lock. Okay. Normally, if you go in the next chain up from minimum custody, how you would apply it is if I'm taking him out and now he starts really resisting, okay, and I've lost the straightness that I need to escort him out. I've now gone beyond minimum custody. So now he's bending his arm. I need to, reestablish custody. Now I can push him away, he would be away from me, but if I still want to take him out of the club, I still have control by holding him here. Now I have to apply this lock to him. Person that's resisting, that's struggling, that's already gotten to this level, you can't just get in here, bend the wrist, and put the lock on. You're going to have to do something to distract them, to get their mind off of what they're doing. Two ways you can accomplish that. One, you can drop your weight, take a step back, and pull them off balance, basically unbalancing them, getting their mind more on regaining their balance, and then which allows you then to put the lock on. The other thing you can do is just standing here with them, you've got your foot forward, they're struggling, you can come in and hit them on the side of the leg, which is basically the peroneal nerve, striking that, causing them to buckle, which will cause their hands to go up, and you can get it in. The other resort you can do if you feel that you can't reach that leg because of how he's standing, is you can do a quick pop. It's not a punch, it's overhand strike, it's a quick pop to them. Basically it's a distraction just to get them off of this part of their body, from resisting this, so that you can put the lock on. Now, how do you put the lock on? The basics of itself is you're standing back here, once again, behind him. You have your hand already here on the elbow, your hand is still on the wrist. So even if they're moving it around, your hand is still on the wrist, it's still on the elbow. You're going to release the elbow, take your hand out from underneath them, come back in and strike down on the inside of the elbow, causing it to come up like this. As this comes up like this, your hand is going to come over their wrist, turning it. This hand then is going to come up and join them, and your thumbs are going to be underneath the hand with your fingers on top. Don't have your fingers on the fingers, don't have your fingers on the wrist. Right here on top of the hand. You're then going to create what we call a base. You should feel their elbow pushing in to your sternum, depending upon your height. Maybe it might push into your chest. If they're much taller than you, it might push into their stomach if they're much shorter than you. Basically, you want to push that in and then compress this. A lot of people will just want to bend the wrist. Bending of the wrist is not what causes it. Yes, that will cause pain, but that won't cause the physiological response that we want. What makes this effective isn't that it just causes pain. It physiologically shoots the nerves down their back and causes them to go on their toes. No matter how drunk they are, how high they are, it's a physiological response. It's not just pain. Okay? So when you do this, you want to compress this area right here. You want to compress this. So as we have this, come here, we bend it down, we do bend down on the wrist, but we're pressing his forearm into our body and moving the wrist. And up he goes on his toes, as you see. Okay? He goes right up on his toes. Now, if he's very intoxicated, because there is some level of pain with this. If he's giving you a hard time, if you want to add in something extra, you can alter the plane by rotating his hand around. So while you have him up, I'm not going to do it very hard. Yeah, while you have him up, you can rotate this hand around, creating that's more of a pain response, but it creates an additional level of pain. There's other things you can do with the fingers and stuff that I don't want to show on the tape. It's something you really have to do in class, because if you try and do it without having practiced it and shown the correct way to do it, you could end up breaking someone's finger. So we don't want you to do that. But there's other pain compliance things you can add in to the physiological response. So basically how we would do this, if we show the whole sequence, we're rocking here, he stops, he's struggling, I've lost the bendness of it. I can pull him back, I'm balancing him, get him up, and walk him out.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, sorry about that. All right, okay. Now, a big guy like this, most likely I would do this for other guys, his size, some of you guys' size. If you happen to deal with a smaller person, maybe a much smaller man, or specifically, also especially women, this is a little bit too severe to do. However, we also don't want to be trying to choke them. A variation of this, and I'm not going to go over all the finer points of it, but a variation of this that you can use on a woman that doesn't apply as much structural pain and nerve response. But I wouldn't do this on someone his size, my size, Larry's size, any male that's 5'9" and up, or got a decent athletic build on him. For a guy to do this to a woman, or for one of our ladies, security officers to do this to a small female, it's okay. Wouldn't do this on somebody large. It's not safe enough. It's do the same compression, but instead of having it in here, having it compress into your hand, your arm here, and then taking them out. There's problems with this. One of the main problems with this is that it doesn't lock up the shoulder, and it keeps that arm over there free. So even while this hurts, and it does get him on his toes, if he decides, he can still come around and swing on me. Okay? Whereas with this, I can lock his shoulder out and prevent him from swinging on me.
All right.
Okay? All right. There's a lot of finer points to this that we haven't gone over, ways to enhance it that we haven't gone over, because it's not something I can really show on a 5-minute clip. That's what the class is for. In the class, we spend a great deal of time on this with different body types, showing you how to do it, so you can do it without much thinking about it. Okay, when I first tried to do this, the first few times I attempted to do this in a club, when I first learned it didn't work, because I didn't know I was doing that. I hadn't practiced it enough. So you may find just by watching this, you go to do this to somebody, and it doesn't work. Because you don't know the finer points. That's what the class is for. I really urge everyone to attend the class. One of our classes that we have, or one of the seminars that we're going to start developing, to learn the finer points of this. Some people can pick it up right away because maybe they've already had some experience in some of the judo or walking arts, and that's fine. Or one of the supervisors that have already been through the class can show you how to apply it. That's good also. But if you do find yourself doing it and it doesn't work, it's not that this doesn't work. It's just that you're not doing it right. Okay. So, thanks, Jim.